Children of good parents, what did your parents do right? How were they good parents? I learned a couple of valuable lessons from my tough-as-nails father. Don't be afraid to show affection to your children. Tell them you love them a lot. They need to hear and see it from their father. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt. You don't know why that person is being rude or grumpy. Maybe they just lost a loved one. Maybe they had a fight with their spouse this morning before they left for work. And number 3, if, having given someone the benefit of the doubt and been extra kind to diffuse the situation, they continue to act like a fool, you need not be a doormat. Stand up for yourself. Love you, Dad. Impossible to list everything, but a few things that stand out to me. They never sheltered me. That covers everything from seeing the diversity of society, rich, poor, healthy, sick, etc., to experiencing my own personal disappointments, losing in sports, saying no when asked to buy me a new video game, etc. I was allowed to grow as an individual. They were always there for support when I needed it, but I was never coddled or protected from things. They led by example. My parents never expected things out of me that they didn't live by themselves. Whether it was something as simple as being open and honest to our entire family, or something more complicated like living within your means, budgeting, and treating all people with total kindness. It's a lot easier as a kid to look up to your parents when they live their daily lives by the same values they taught me. Pretty much this. Kids learn much better from what they see, not what they are told. My parents are imperfect, but they did a lot of right things. The biggest one that sticks out to me is that they're supportive of things my brother and I like, even when they don't understand or like it themselves. They didn't really care for skateboarding, but they spent hundreds of dollars over the years for my brother to enjoy his hobby. They not only helped me to get a drum set, but they allowed the band to hold practice in our basement and drove us to all our shows. They wanted me to be a lawyer, but they were willing to settle for a line cook. It made a difference in the long run because eventually it helped me realize that I get to make my own choices in life. Nothing is laid out for me. I can do whatever I enjoy, and my parents will be there for me, cheering me on. The last sentence reminded me of one of my fondest childhood memories. 9 years old me, doing my green belt jiu-jitsu grading. My dad on the sidelines, giant 90s video camera over his shoulder, singing "You're the best around" from the original Karate Kid, and just generally cheering me on. He spent tons of money he didn't have to buy me stuff I didn't really need, because I was showing an interest in it. He walked me to class 3 nights a week and carried me home in his shoulders because I was tired and we didn't have a car. He's a great guy. Have tons of respect for him. When I was little, we lived near a freeway, and I asked my mom one time how far the freeway went and where we would be if we just got on it and kept driving. She had a map. Did she show it to me? Nope. She said, "Let's see." We hopped in the car and drove for hours until we were both tired of it, then pulled out the map and found a route home along the shore of one of the US Great Lakes. This was in the 80s, before GPS or cell phones. I was maybe 10, and she let me navigate home. She could have just told me or shown me on the map without leaving the couch, but she wanted me to know, and maybe she wanted to know herself. And that's how she's always been. It's amazing. My parents weren't perfect, and they weren't wealthy. My dad was abandoned as a child in a state thousands of miles away from home, raised with a bunch of people he wasn't related to. My mom was a child of divorced parents, abused and hated by her step-parents. They found each other and worked hard so me, my sister, and my brother never had to go through those same troubles. Both of my parents have trauma from their youth. My dad can be paranoid, my mom struggles with depression, but they never abandoned us. When my cousin was starving because my auntie was out drinking, they took him in, and he became my brother. Sometimes they argue, sometimes they yell, but they never laid hands on each other. They've been there for me countless times, even when it cost everything. Now that I'm older, I'm trying my hardest to be there for them, because I know now what they've done for us. They broke the cycle. They broke the cycle. When I became a father, I found that to be my purpose in life. My parents did many things right. If they messed up, they apologized. I remember one time my mom said something that hurt my feelings. Really not serious, but to a 7-year-old it was, and she apologized, like a real apology. I learned that my parents weren't perfect, but they were trying their best. I gained a lot of respect from them watching that example my entire life. They tried to make family dinner a priority. It didn't always work with a busy schedule, but more often than not, we had dinner as a family to talk and bond. Some of the most important things I've learned in life were learned around the family table. Taught my siblings and I how to budget. We would earn $1 a week in allowance when we were younger. We would get 10 dimes and then have to divide it out. 1 dime to charity, 4 dimes to savings, and 5 dimes to us. We learned how to budget and save up for what we wanted and how to pay ourselves by creating savings accounts. They never stopped dating each other. My mom and dad both strongly believed the best way they could help us become good adults was by them being a united, loving team. They're hitting 27 years of marriage this summer. They go on weekly dates, flirt, and help one another. I had the privilege of growing up in a home where I knew my parents loved me and my siblings, and they loved each other. That was a huge stabilizing force in my life. They had us do chores from a young age. The chores were always appropriate to our skill level and age, but we did them nonetheless. For example, when I was in kindergarten, I had to unload the plastic items and silverware, not knives, from the dishwasher every night. At 8, my dad taught me how to mow the lawn, and that was my special Saturday chore during the summer. The list goes on and on. They did the bulk of the around home chores, but they taught us to take responsibility for our homes and also how to do chores. They let us experience consequences of our actions. I remember once I forged my mom's signature on a form to get a treat at school. I was in 1st grade. I did a very poor job as I wrote Mom instead of her name. My teacher called my mom to let her know. My mom told her, "You're the teacher, and I give you permission to punish her according to your classroom rules. I won't argue it." So I didn't get to go to recess that day. I learned a solid lesson about accountability and honesty. They didn't punish us unjustly or unnecessarily, but they gave us consequences to our actions. I could go on and on. Taught respect, never played favorites. But the biggest thing was they always explained their actions and were willing to discuss why and occasionally even change their mind. It was never, "No, because I said so." I think I didn't really have a rebellious phase because they never really forbid anything. It was always, "Well, you can do that when you don't live here." My parents never forbid anything either. A lot of times I did things with them that other kids weren't allowed to do. One such instance is that we would watch South Park as a family every Wednesday back in the late 90s and early 2000s. I didn't swear then, got perfect grades, didn't get into drinking or pot, and didn't have sex until I was ready. Anecdotal evidence, but whatever. My best friend's parents were extremely strict and she was always getting into trouble. My dad was exceptionally fair. Any conflict would be solved by sitting down and having me evaluate multiple perspectives. If we could reason through an issue, and it appeared someone had indeed treated me poorly or done the wrong thing and I was in the right, he would give me credit for that, but then still work with me to find a way to resolve the issue with the other person. Vice versa. If I was wrong, he had a way of conversing with me that made me realize it on my own. I think this really helped in building some character traits, and I'm very grateful for. But it also built a child-parent relationship with mutual trust. I felt comfortable approaching my dad about anything. I knew he'd tell me about it if I was wrong, but I also knew he would back me if I was right. That was powerful, to feel respected as a teenager. It's only now I'm an adult I realize how that empowerment drove me to be responsible for my own actions rather than blaming the world for not understanding me. Came out to my parents last year about my mental health issues, and they gave me all the help I needed. They stayed with me during my anxiety attacks, even if they were late in the night, and paid for my counseling, even though they don't legally have to. I probably wouldn't be as mentally healthy as I am now without their help and support. Best parents ever. They didn't question why my door was closed, and trusted me enough I wasn't doing anything bad. I thought it was normal for parents to always knock, until I joined Reddit and realized how good my parents are. My parents are very open-minded and accepting people. I remember multiple times when me and my siblings were young and they would say, "We don't care what or who you are." And that really stuck with me because I'm bi. When I actually came out to them, both of them never backed out of their word and have accepted me for who I am. My mom and I even discuss LGBT topics over tea, and my dad won't stop with the puns. My parents have been married for plus 30 years, and my sibs and I love them to death. My parents are so committed to each other and our family that they live like they're one and the same person, instead of two separate individuals. I've only been married for about a year and a half, and I can feel the setting in already. We're inside each other's heads to a crazy degree. The other day we were in the kitchen, and I found myself handing her a knife. And only afterwards did it occur to me that I had subconsciously noticed that she was pulling veggies out of the fridge and that she needed a knife to cut them. The very important lesson of don't buy things only because your friends have them, just so you all have the same thing. When I failed my first year at uni, they didn't get angry or upset. My mum sat down next to me while I was bawling my eyes out in shame and hugged me until I calmed down. She said it wasn't the end of my life and that she was, and always will be, proud of me. They don't drink or smoke. They have stable jobs, and I've never had to worry about any financial problems. They were strict in their effort to teach me discipline and dedication to study. They never committed anything criminal, and they're respectable members of our society. My parents smoke a lot, and one of them drinks too much. Still, the best parents ever. They took great care of me. Unfortunately, not so much for themselves, but we're teaching each other. I'm not drinking or smoking, by the way. Mom used to say, how someone treats the waiter tells you everything you need to know about a person. Everything else is just gravy. So while all my friends fell for jerks and tried to rationalize their behavior, I could see it coming from our first double dates together. Saved me a lot of grief in life.